Am I the a-hole for wanting to be my best friend? I, 15 female, grew up as a poor orphan on the streets. I learned that in order to survive, you can only depend on yourself. Then one day some rich girl, named Feng Qingge, 15 female, took pity on me and took me in as charity. The more time we spent together, the more envious I became of her. She had everything: wealth, status, and a rich and handsome fiancé. Why couldn't I have been born into this family? It just wasn't fair. That's when I came up with this plan to become her. My parents abandoned me when I was a baby. They sold me off to the Poison Clan for a few coins to feed themselves. The Poison Clan is a clan that consists of people that live on the fringes of society. They have, of course, a lot of knowledge about poisons. If you anger them, they will quickly make you suffer the consequences. They take in babies and lace their milk with poison. If you can handle it, you get stronger and build immunity. If you don't, you die. It truly is a clan of survival of the fittest. By the time I was 6 years old, I was immune to most poisons and knew how to use them as no other. By this time, they had also realized that I had a pretty face and so sent me out to live on the streets to attract men, then poison them, and if they wanted the antidote, they had to pay. At first this worked really well, but after a few years, word must have spread around to stay away from little girls on the street. So that revenue dried up and the Poison Clan saw no use for me anymore, so they let me starve on the streets. This is how I grew up as a poor orphan barely scraping by on the streets of the Sun Glory country. From the alleyways, I watched them. The wealthy families of this country going about their day to day. As I have no money, no one to really turn to, but myself. I started to envy the children of those families. It just isn't fair that they were born with so much privilege, meanwhile I was scraping by on crumbs. I used my pretty face to let some of the older boys share a little of the bread they stole from the market. But the security around the market was tight and the guards would chase them down, and if they were caught they would either lose their hand or go to prison. We were nothing but a nuisance. Nobody cared about us. Nobody cared about me wandering the streets, and why would they? I had no future, no opportunities. In the eyes of the world, I was nothing. Just another nameless face in the crowd. That all changed when one day, one of the boys told me that there was a rich girl, from a prominent family, that looked a lot like me. They started joking that she was my sister and that they only needed one girl in the family, so they kicked me out. As always, I laughed along. But inside the wheels were turning and I wanted to see and meet this girl for myself. So I went to the shopping district and that is where I met Feng Qingge. At first I only wanted to see her from close by. So when I saw her, I snuck close. But her guards spotted me and started to point their swords at me. I understood at that moment that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So I acted as if I got frightened and unwell from the swords pointing at me. Feng Qingge noticed me and the rest is history. She took me in, gave me a job as her personal maid and companion. In my eyes, Feng Qingge was naive, spoiled, and has had a very sheltered upbringing. She had no idea that out there on the streets, people slit each other's throat for an apple. She never had to fight to survive and sleep with one eye open. Because someone could take advantage of you if you let your guard down. She never had to worry about the basic things, such as food, clothes, and a roof over her head. All the food was prepared for her by the chef in the kitchen. The rooms were heated and her bed was made every day by the maids. Someone always helped her get dressed in the finest clothes. Her days were filled with reading and doing things leisurely. I soon learned that if I played my cards right, I wouldn't have to do anything. Feng Qingge believed and trusted me more than anyone. I realized that although she had all this wealth, she was very lonely. Because of her shyness and introvertness, she didn't have any close friends. So I became like a sister to her. Her closest confidant and companion. She shared everything with me, from the weird birthmark on her arm that was shaped like a phoenix, to what she talked about on her outings with the only other person she was close to, Ruoyun, her fiancé. She gushed about how kind and amazing he was. With a little probing I found out that he was the third son of the king, Bo, of our Sun Glory country. When I heard this, I had to see him for myself, so I secretly watched them from afar the next time they met up. I had hoped he was ugly, but not only was he very handsome, he exuded authority. Why her? Why was she so lucky to have been born into this family and to have a handsome fiancé that was a prince? One day she will be a princess and I will most likely be on the streets again. Abandoned and forgotten. When I realized my bleak future, I realized I had to do something. This is when I began to plot my plan. My plan was foolproof and very meticulous. It took years of patience, strategy, and the ability to maintain my calm and false facade at all times. All I had to do was play the part, be nice, act trustworthy, and make her believe I was someone she could rely on completely. That wasn't difficult. But in order to accomplish this plan, I studied how she acted and what she liked and disliked. But I realized I couldn't do this on my own. I needed the help of the Poison Clan. I needed them to be on my beck and call. So I contacted them and they were eager to help me when I told them that I could one day become a princess. One night, when her father and grandfather were away and the few servants that were in the house went to sleep, I unleashed everything I had planned. I poisoned her with a deadly concoction that left her unconscious, weak, and unable to defend herself. Then, I took my knife and, without hesitation, disfigured her face, scarring it beyond recognition. I got a little carried away and all the envy and hatred I had felt for her the past couple of years came out. The poison I gave her would kill her slowly, so I needed to get rid of her. Someone from the Poison clan suggested taking her to a brothel. The girls from the brothel that died at the hands of one of their clients always were buried in an unmarked grave nearby. I then, with the help of the Poison clan, used makeup and dyed my hair to make it exactly like hers. I took her place, took her identity, and even stole her fiancé. I became Feng Qingge. I feel no remorse for what I've done. I did what I had to do to live a life of luxury. Feng Qingge was utterly useless, she had no ambitions, and all her status was wasted on her. Now that all of that is in my hands, I will make the most of it and make myself even more stronger and powerful than she could ever be. I'll also get rid of anyone who tries to stand in my way. My poisons are incredibly potent, even a tiny dose can take down anyone, and I'm not afraid to use them to my advantage. This is my time to shine, and I will eliminate anyone who threatens my newfound status. You might ask yourself how I'm able to fool her father and grandfather. Well, her grandfather is senile. He doesn't even know what day it is, or how to get home. He gets lost all the time. Her father is always busy. But if they start to suspect, it is very easy for me to poison them and make it look like they died of natural causes. But before that happens, I need to take control of the Feng clan. I will show them what I, Ruoyun, am capable of. So, here's the question, am I the a-hole for taking control of my own fate by seizing Feng Qingge's identity and life? I mean, I wasn't going to let a spoiled rich girl's potential go to waste while I was left to struggle on the streets. I did what I had to do to survive, so am I really in the wrong here?
Hello, it's Anima Wisdoms here. If you're curious, you can check out the videos from the other characters in this playlist here. It tells you everything from their point of view.